All right. Peace, love, and abundance. Welcome, welcome, all YouTubers. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to go over what is the metaverse exactly, and a couple of the things that we can do with it. You know, that's a big talk of the world right now is metaverses and its capabilities. So let's look a little bit deeper into its meanings and how it can be utilized, right, to all our advantage. So what is the metaverse exactly? Everything you never wanted to know about the future of talking about the future. So to hear tech CEO like Mark Zuckerberg or Satya Nadella talk about it, the metaverse is the future of the internet, or it's a video game, or maybe it's a deeply uncomfortable, worse version of Zoom. It's hard to say. To a certain extent, talking about what the metaverse means is a bit like having a discussion about what the internet means back in the 1970s. The building blocks of a new form of communication were in the process of being built, but no one could really know what reality would look like. So while it is true at the time that the internet was coming, not every idea of what would look like is true. So on the other hand, there's also a lot of marketing hype wrap up in this idea of the metaverse. Facebook in particular is an especially vulnerable place after Apple's move to limit ad tracking hit the company's bottom line. It's impossible to separate Facebook versions of the future where everyone has a digital wardrobe to swipe through from the fact that Facebook really wants to make money selling virtual clothes, right? So with all that in mind, seriously, what does the metaverse mean? Because it's not just Facebook, for those who think that is what it is. No. To help you get a sense of how vague and how complex a term the metaverse can be, here's an exercise to try. Mentally replace the phrase the metaverse in the sentence with cyberspace. 90% of the time, the meaning won't substantially change. That's because the term doesn't really refer to any one specific type of technology, but rather a broad swift in how we interact with technology. And it's entirely possible that the term itself will eventually become just an antiquated, even as specific technology it once described becomes commonplace. So broadly speaking, the technologies that make up the metaverse can include virtual reality, characterized by persistent virtual worlds that continue to exist even when you're not playing, as well as augmented reality that combines aspects of the digital and physical worlds. However, it doesn't require that those spaces be exclusively accessible via VR or AR. A virtual world, like aspects of Fortnite, that can be accessed through PCs, game consoles, and even phones, could be metaversal. It also translates to a digital economy where users can create, buy, and sell goods. And in a more idealistic vision of the metaverse, it's interoperable, allowing you to take virtual items like clothes or cars from one platform to another. In the real world, you can buy a shirt from the mall and then wear it to the movie theater. Right now, most platforms have virtual identities, avatars, and inventories that are tied to just one platform. But a metaverse might allow you to create a persona that you can take everywhere, as easy as you can copy your profile picture from one social network to another. So it's difficult to parse what all this means, because when you hear descriptions like those above, an understandable response is, wait, does that exist already? World of Warcraft, for example, is a persistent virtual world where players can buy and sell goods. Fortnite has virtual experiences like concerts and exhibits where Rick Sanchez can learn about MLK Jr. You can strap on an Oculus headset and be in your own personal virtual home. Is this really what the metaverse means? Just some new kinds of video games? Well, yes and no. Saying that Fortnite is the metaverse would be a bit like saying Google is the internet. Even if you could theoretically spend large chunks of time in Fortnite socializing, buying things, learning, and playing games, that doesn't necessarily mean that it encompasses the entire scope of the metaverse. On the other hand, just as it would be accurate to say Google builds part of the internet from physical data centers to security layers, it's similar accurate to say that Fortnite creators Epic Games is building parts of the metaverse. So, and it isn't the only company doing so. Some of the work will be done by tech giants like Microsoft and Facebook, the latter of which recently rebranded to Meta to reflect this work, though we still not quite used to the name. Many other associated assorted companies, including NVIDIA, Unity, Roblox, and even Snap, are all working on building an infrastructure that might become the metaverse. It's at this point that discussions of what the metaverse entails start to stall. We have a vague sense of what things currently exist that we could kind of call the metaverse, and we know which companies are investing in the idea, but we still don't know what it is. Facebook, Meta is still not getting it, thinks it will include fake houses you can invite all your friends to hang out in. Microsoft seems to think it could involve virtual meeting rooms to train new hires or chat your remote coworkers. The pitches for these visions of the future range from optimistic to outright fan fiction. At one point during Meta's presentation on the metaverse, the company showed a scenario in which a young woman is sitting on her couch scrolling through Instagram when she sees a video a friend posted on a concert that's happening halfway across the world. The video then cuts to the concert where the woman appears in an Avengers-style hologram. She is able to make eye contact with her friend who is physically there. They're both able to hear the concert, and they can see floating text hovering above the stage. This seems cool, but it's not really advertising the real product or even the possible future one. In fact, it brings us to the biggest problem with the metaverse. Why does the metaverse involve holograms? When the internet first arrived, it started with a series of technical innovations like the ability to let computers talk to each other over great distances or the ability to hyperlink from one page to another. These technical features was building blocks that were then used to make the abstract structures we now know the internet for: website, apps, social networks, and anything else that relies on those core elements. And that's to say nothing of the convergence of the interface innovations that aren't strictly part of the internet, but still necessary to make it work, such as displays, keyboards, mice, and touchscreens. With the metaverse, there are some new building blocks in place, like the ability to host hundreds of people in a single instance of a server. Ideally, future versions of the metaverse will be able to handle thousands or even millions of people at once, or motion tracking tools that can distinguish where a person is looking or where their hands are. These new technologies can be very exciting and feel futuristic. However, there are limitations that may be impossible to overcome. When tech companies like Microsoft or Meta show fictionalized videos of their versions of the future, they frequently tend to gloss over just how people will interact with the metaverse. VR headsets are still very clunky, and most people experience motion sickness or physical pain if they wear them for too long. Augmented reality glasses face a similar problem, on top of the not insignificant issue of figuring out how people can wear them around in the public without looking like huge dorks. Or even keeping their glasses on so they can actually see, right? But so how do tech companies show off the idea of their technology without showing the reality of bulky headsets or dorky glasses? So far, their primary solution seems to be a simple fabric technology from whole cloth. The hologram woman from Meta presentation. I hate to shatter the illusion, but it's simply not possible with very advanced versions of existing technology. Unlike motion track digital avatars, which are kind of janky right now, but could be a better someday, there's no janky version of making a three-dimensional picture appear mid-air without tightly controlled circumstances. No matter what Iron Man tells you, perhaps these meant to be interpreted as images projected via glasses. Both women in a demo video are wearing similar glasses, after all. But even that assumes a lot about physical capabilities of compact glasses, which Snap can tell you isn't a simple problem to solve. This kind of glossing over reality is frequently present in video demos of how the metaverse could work. Another of meta demos show characters floating in space. Is a person strapped to an immersive aerial rig, or are they just sitting at a desk? A person represented by a hologram. Does this person have a headset on? And if so, how is their face being scanned? At a point, a person grabs virtual items, but then holds those items in what seems to be their physical hands. This demo raises so many more questions than answers. On some level, this is fine. Microsoft, Meta, and every other company that shows wild demos like things like this are trying to give an artistic impression of what the future could be, not necessarily account for every technical question. It's at a time-honored tradition going back to AT&T's demo of voice-controlled foldable phones that could magically erase people from images and generate 3D models, all of which might have seemed similar and possible at the time. However, let me scroll up. This kind of wish thinking as tech demo leads us in a place where it's hard to pinpoint which aspects on the various visions visions of the metaverse will actually be real one day. If VR and AR headsets become comfortable and cheap enough for people to wear on a daily basis, a substantial if, then perhaps the idea of virtual poker game where your friends are robots and holograms and floating in a space can be somewhat close to reality. If not, well, you could always play tabletop simulator on a Discord video call, you know? The flashiness of VR and AR also obscure the more mundane aspects of the metaverse that might be more likely to come to fruition. It would be trivial, easy for tech companies to invent, say an open digital avatar standard, a type of file that includes characteristics you might enter into a character creator, like eye color, hairstyle, or clothing options, and let you take it everywhere. There's no need to build a more comfortable VR headset for that. But that's not fun to imagine. All right, so where's the metaverse look like right now? The paradox of defining the metaverse is that in order for it to be the future, you have to define the way the present. We already have MMOs that are essentially entire virtual worlds, digital concerts, video calls with people from all over the world, online avatars, and commerce platforms. So in order to sell these things as a new vision of the world, there has to be some element of it that's new. Spend enough time having discussions about the metaverse, and inevitably someone will reference fictional stories like Snow Crash, the 1992 novel that coined the term metaverse, or Ready Player One, which depicts a VR world where everyone works, plays, and shops, combined with the general pop culture idea of holograms and heads-up displays. Basically, anything Iron Man has used in the last 10 movies. These stories serve as an imaginative reference point for what the metaverse, a metaverse that tech companies could actually sell as something new, could look like. Mentally replace the phrase. Oh, we already talked about that. That kind of hype is a vital and part of the idea of the metaverse as any other. And no wonder then that people are promoting things like NFTs, cryptography tokens that can serve as certificates of ownership or digital items, sort of, as also latching on to the idea of metaverse. Sure, NFTs are bad for the environment, but if it could be argued that these tokens might be digital key to your virtual mansion in a Roblox, then boom, you just transferred your hobby of buying means into a crucial piece of infrastructure for a future of the internet and possibly raise the value of the cryptocurrency you're holding. Man, I don't know about y'all, but I like the way that sounds. So it's important to keep all this context in mind, because while it's tempting to compare the proto-metaverse ideas we had today to the early internet and assume everything will get better and progress in a linear vision, that's not a given. There's no guarantee people will even want to hang out on sand legs in virtual office or play poker with DreamWorks Mark Zuckerberg, much less whether VR and AR tech will ever become seamless enough to be as common as smartphones and computers are today. It may even be the case that any real metaverse would be a little more than some cool VR games and digital avatars and Zoom calls, but mostly just something we still think of as the internet. That says a lot. This story really put a lot, and that's a older story. When did it come out? Last year, I believe. Yep, in November 25th. And it was explaining the metaverse, and a lot of what they're saying is true even yet today. But some of the things, like they're saying, that was unspeculated then is actually coming true. For example, having stores that are selling in the metaverse. And it's kind of like what they were saying, why do we need to be in the metaverse? Why would I need to wear Oculus and go to a special world to shop when I could just go ahead and go online? We already have the ability to shop. What's the difference? So I don't know. They do bring up a good point. Is this the metaverse even really needed? Or is it just a new shiny object right now? Anywho, I did want to talk about the advancement of the metaverse and what they're going through. So this is one of the stories that I had found on Publish Show X, going over CVS being the first drugstore to sell NFT pharmaceuticals in the metaverse. And they mentioned that in their description, well, what if we started using these NFTs to unlock certain things? And this is one, like you can buy an NFT inside this metaverse that can give you a physical item. Like, really? Cool, cool. Is that what happened? I don't know. I haven't read the story completion. So let's read and let's see. CVS Pharmacy wants to be the first drugstore to sell NFTs in the metaverse, and they filed a trademark application to sell downloadable virtual merchandise. Because when your cholesterol is too high, what you really need is a non-fungible Lipitor. Coinbase explains how it complies with sanctions against Russia. Last week, Coinbase refused to ban all Russians from its platform. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong says Russia would be better off using U.S. cash to evade sanctions than try to use crypto. Crypto is more traceable than cash, art, or gold. Cardano whales have purchased more than 4 billion ADA this year. Cardano is also the most used blockchain with the lowest fees. It is the most used. That's cool. How the Ukraine crisis became the turning point for crypto. In fact, it has become a double-edged sword. Now, wait, why is this? I want to read this story. Where's they just give me a highlight because I could have sworn there was a story to read behind this. And I'm guessing that's it. Raise of the internet based on social media. Nope. All right. I'm not giving a thumbs up to that. I need some more details on CVS selling pharmaceuticals in the metaverse. But it's all good. We still have one more story to go through, and that'll be how the Chinese government increases focus on the metaverse as regulation. So we're getting to the point to where we're supposed to start regulation with the metaverse. That means something, right? This story just came today. Actually, today's March 7th. Yep, it's 3:30 UTC, a few hours ago. Let's see what it's about. Scroll down. During China's annual 2 sessions, the authorities discussed metaverse at a national level for the first time, with delegates calling for regulations to ensure data security and the eradication of speculation within the industry. Since China successfully curbed the growth of crypto within its jurisdictions, the metaverse has emerged as a new frontier for many tech companies in the country. Some of the biggest firms like Baidu, Tencent, NetEase, and ByteDance have already applied for patents within the sector, with some like Alibaba releasing NFTs based on the idea. Delegates called for metaverse regulations, but delegates in the 2 sessions believe that the nonsense industry still has a lot of room for growth, which can best happen with regulations. According to Kong Falong, a deputy to the National People's Congress, establishing the National Research Institution for Metaverse can help spur its growth. Falong continued with more investments in the industry to nurture talents and support development. China could become the leading country in the metaverse space. Well, that won't be shocking. But he also added that such developments would come with such issues as information protection, data security, and speculations. Thus, this essentially that firms operating with the space are regulated. Another delegated and member of the Chinese People Political Consultative Conference, the CPPCC, Yin Yang, stated that the current metaverse space in China focuses too much on the entertainment experience. And I believe that's what a lot of us are all doing, thinking of the metaverse as just for entertainment purposes, but it's really can be so much bigger than that. And I guess we'll see more about that as it comes. So aside from that, he also pointed out that speculation is rifled in the current space and concluded that the government needed to regulate the industry to ensure its growth in terms of technology development. Available information shows that district governments of Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Beijing's Tangzhou are eyeing opportunities available for them in the metaverse. Cool. So China's regulations first poster. While many countries around the world are just waking up to the need to regulate crypto industry properly, the Chinese government since 2013 has maintained a hostile stance towards the industry and has successfully curbed the growth of the space within its jurisdictions. According to its recent crypto slate report, the country successfully reduced its domination of Bitcoin transactions and mining as its share dropped 90 to 10%. God, dog. Within with the new revelations coming from the recent two sessions, the Asian country could also be looking to regulate the growth of the metaverse space within the country. Presently, the industry's lack of regulation has led to an influx of companies. According to the Chinese National Intellectual Properties Administration, it has received at least 16,000 trademark applications containing the words metaverse. However, it should be noted that this does not necessarily mean all the projects are metaverse related. So we see we got some regulations going on. We see we have a few stores. Now, even though I pulled the article for CVS, there are more stores than just CVS going into the metaverse where you can buy virtual items, NFT version of these items, and you can redeem it for physical items. So, metaverse again can be, like they said, a social ground for us to be at. It can be a gaming place, and it can even be a working environment. There's so much that the metaverse has to offer, and there's so much that's being created. Right now, for me, my opinion is to just get involved in creating. Everybody has special talents, and all that can be necessary in the metaverse. Whatever we can do in the real realm, we can do now in the metaverse. And now you can be attached to even more people, being able to see more of a physical object than just, seeing a 2D item online, that's seeing a 3D item move and even build and create. It's kind of crazy with the things that we can do with this metaverse, but I think that it's going to be here and it's just going to start growing. Like they saying, it's the internet of today. So I hope y'all get involved somehow, one way or the other, and earn a couple of NFTs because it's going to be worth a little bit more than it is now. That's one of my opinions. That's just my opinion, though. But this is me on my daily news. I hope y'all found this information useful, and I'm going to go ahead and give you back your day. I lost my space. So, oh, man, will I not share my screen this entire time? I didn't